the date today? Is it the 30th? Yes, November 30th. Welcome to Dr. J's Prescription for Health. I am Dr. Jensen. Good morning, Lucy. We are live on Instagram and we are live on YouTube. So thank you for joining. If, let me see here. I forgot to do some things, but okay. This is your opportunity to ask questions, ask medical questions, find out what's going on. I want to talk a little bit today. Let me organize myself here. I want to talk a little bit today about labs. I know that is always on your mind. You know, what do my labs tell me? What can I change? What can I do? Is this need to be changed? I think these are questions that are very common, and I see them a lot on when I'm doing my consultations with you guys. And it's normal reaction. I want you to know that. This is a normal reaction to want to know these things. And yeah, I'm happy about that. So while we are waiting for everyone to join in, I am located in Iowa. I'm a family practice physician, and it is cold here, very cold. And we got like 8 inches of snow. I don't know, maybe it's 5 or 6, somewhere between 5 and 8, but it seems like a lot and it's very cold. Like wind chills are 0 or below. It's not fun, but I will get through. It was just a shock to the system. So with that being said, where are you guys listening from? And let me know. Lucy says, starting a 48-hour fast, we'll just do distilled water. Should I add salt or minerals? Well, if you're gonna add salt and minerals, why are you using distilled water? Just my thoughts. But yeah, I think if you do distilled water, yeah, I believe that you should add salt and minerals because distilled water is without. Buddy is listening from Scotland. I am in the United States. I am in Iowa. So thanks for watching, you guys. Click the share button, click the subscribe, do your thing, hit the algorithm. But this is your opportunity to ask questions. And that was a good one about Lucy and doing a fast. Lucy says, I only have distilled water at home. That's fine. Just add the salt and minerals. I think you'll feel a lot better. Okay? And you got to know, why are you fasting? I would love to know why you're fasting. What is your goal to fast? What is anybody's goal to fast? Why do you do what you do? It's always fascinating to me. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I just want to know what is, why you do the things you do. We got some people joining over on YouTube. Thank you. I appreciate it. Victoria, I'm doing quite well. Thanks for asking. I appreciate that. All right. So labs in general. Labs are a way to get diagnostic tests, okay? Diagnostic tests give a diagnosis of you're free and clear, there's nothing going on, or we found some things and we need to look into it. Good morning, Retail My Ride. Thank you for being here. That is what they are. Now, I am not opposed to getting labs. In fact, I encourage you to get labs because I think some of you have been living with like a turtle inside your shell and don't know what is going on. So getting baseline labs is helpful. Okay. We're going to get rid of, okay. Let's see. If there is someone on YouTube, I can't see if my moderator from yesterday has joined us, but I'm going to avoid all comments and questions on YouTube until I get a moderator, and because it's way too much over there. People don't want to learn, and the ones that do end up, so we'll get rid of some of them that are over there while I'm on, but yeah, you guys that are on YouTube, okay. Let's see. All right. So let's get, oh, thank you very much. Awesome. You're gone. You're gone anyway. You don't even have to say anything. All right. So, getting labs. Let's get back. Let's get back to the real thing, why you guys are joined here. Lucy says, I want to spend this time, why she's fasting, where I will not think about food, reduce food noise, and focus on getting closer to God, journal, and find my purpose, recover as I have been pushing on my workouts. I think that's awesome. Having a reason why you want to fast is good. Food noise is huge, so Lucy needs to concentrate on how she's going to end her fast. And I think that's important, is how she ends, not how long she's doing it, but, you know, how she's going to end that fast. That's really important. Let me make sure. Nancy says, can you simplify the concept of mTOR and how it relates to longevity? Sure. mTOR is very important, just as insulin is very important. When mTOR is high, that means it's high when we're exercising. It's high when insulin is high. So it's going to go up when we eat. So if you are consuming anything, mTOR is going to go high. If you're exercising, mTOR is going to go high. mTOR is very important. It helps with growth, just like insulin helps with growth. It is good, mTOR being elevated, when it's only spiking high and then it comes back down. We need relief from having mTOR as well. Now, mTOR is kind of a new thing, and there's not very many, people talking about it right now. But I think in time, we'll start learning more and more about what stimulates mTOR and what doesn't, and why having chronically elevated mTOR can decrease our longevity. Things that cause mTOR, I said, was exercising, right? So if you are constantly exercising, meaning you are doing chronic long distance things, your mTOR is chronically going to be elevated. You're chronically in a growth phase. So this causes stress. Also, if you are eating small frequent meals through the day, remember I said eating causes mTOR to go up. So if you are constantly eating through the day, mTOR never has a chance to come down. Again, always in growth phase, always in growing things. Even cancers are things that can grow with mTOR. But your heart could grow size-wise, congestive heart failure, things can grow. Also, take into consideration that when mTOR is high, insulin is high. When insulin is high, blood sugar is high. Do we want constant exposure to blood sugars? No. Is that aging us? Yes. It's called glycation. So you can see that having elevations of mTOR is fine as long as they come back down. But if they're chronically elevated, like if it's in close approximation or association with elevated insulin levels, now it's a double whammy. So you don't want constant mTOR or constant insulin or constant growing. You need time to go into autophagy. So as insulin comes down, you go into ketosis, autophagy. As you stop exercising, mTOR comes down, you go into autophagy. Autophagy is important part of, living as well as it's cleanup time. It's like maid service for your body. The cells get cleaned up. The things that are in the cells, even toxins, can be recycled and used for something else, or that cell is all washed up and it needs to be replaced. So, let me see. Linda over on YouTube, can you watch things for a bit and let me know if we need to get rid of some of these people on YouTube. So Linda, I'm going to nominate you to monitor and ask me and let me know if things need to be cleaned up over there, because I'm pretty much going to ignore it, okay? Got it. So thank you, Linda, in advance for your time. I appreciate that. Okay, so Nancy, hopefully that answered your question in regards to mTOR. Jayco says, 82-year-old male with thoughts of high TSH. Thoughts on getting levothyroxine, which is T4. Doctor prescribed. TSH is greater than 49. T4 total 4.3. T3 uptake 39. Free T3 1.7. So there's a lot here, Jayco, and it might want to either you get a consult or he get a consult and go over these things because that's a lot. Oh, good, Nancy, I'm glad to help. But while we're on this concept of thyroid, let's just talk about thyroid normal ranges. Remember that ATSH is on your reference, on your labs, the reference range is very, very wide. It will go somewhere between 0.4 and 4. Okay, so you could actually be told by your doctor, if you fall anywhere in between 0.4 and 4, that you're normal. Again, those are a reference range. If we were to diagnose everybody with hypothyroid, so if the range was narrower and we diagnosed all these people with hypothyroid, everybody would be on medicine. But doctors want to really just ignore thyroid because it's irrelevant. They just don't look at it as a functioning organ to them. It more likely that they're going to look at your LDL and your heart function before they'll look at your thyroid, which could be causing your LDL and your heart dysfunction. So again, not looking at thyroid or disregarding it by just checking TSH is doing you a disservice. So that wide range misses a lot of people who are complaining of, hey, I'm tired, my skin is dry, I'm constipated, I don't sleep very well, or I sleep all the time. These are things that you need to keep in mind when your doctor is just getting a TSH level and it falls into the huge range of 0.4 to 4. So what if you are treating yourself with thyroid, so you've been diagnosed with thyroid, and your TSH falls at 0.3. Again, the range is 0.4 to 4. And your doctor says, oh, we're over-medicating you, let's back off, because they're only checking a TSH. But you say, no, I feel great, please don't change anything. And then they get a T3 or a T4 because really they'll just get a free T4. They won't even get a free T4. They'll get a total T4, which in all reality means nothing. But let's break this down. Let's first describe thyroid and these hormones. TSH stands for thyroid stimulating hormone. TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. TSH is actually not a thyroid hormone. It is a pituitary hormone. So TSH produced in our brain comes down and tells our thyroid to produce T4. Now, what is the difference between T4, T3, T2, T1? The T stands for thyroid. The 1, 2, 3, 4 stands for how many iodines are attached to that particular molecule. Okay? That is what the numbers stand for, iodine. When T4, which is inactive, is produced from the thyroid itself, the gland, it loses an iodine to become active T3. Make sense? So T4 is inactive, T3 is active. Doctors don't talk much about T1 and T2 because they think they're irrelevant, but they are a thyroid hormone, okay? When the T4 becomes T3, it loses an iodine from a very specific place. You don't have to know that place, but it's not random. we look at free T4 and free T3 as the markers, as well as TSH, as markers that help to describe what is going on with your thyroid more specifically. I also like to get antibodies when I'm doing that. The antibodies help me to, one, determine, hey, is there some inflammation going on here? Does the person have Hashimoto's? If it's greater than 1, you likely have some antibodies circulating that indicates that your thyroid is not doing so well. All right? You could actually have normal values in the range. You could look normal on paper and feel like crap still, and your doctor doesn't look at all of these things. Now, you could suspect it. You could go outside of your doctor and order the tests on your own. I can order your tests if you're in the United States and maybe in 43 of the states, because there's some states that don't even allow outside labs to be drawn, like Rhode Island, or what's another state that does not allow? Rhode Island comes to mind first and foremost, but I believe there's about 7 states that don't allow you to get your labs checked outside of your own doctor. Even if another doctor like myself orders them, okay? They won't allow that. So Rhode Island is one of those states. If you really want to know more about New York, is New York one? Lucy, you might be right. You might be right. I don't know if I've ever tried to order to someone from New York, but you're likely correct. And thank you for that addition. But when looking at your thyroid, you want to specifically ask for a TSH. You want to specifically ask for a free T3 and a free T4. You also want to ask for a TG and a TPO. Those are the antibodies that I'm referring to. And you also want to get a reverse T3. Now, what is a reverse T3? Okay, so if we start from the beginning and your brain releases TSH, the TSH comes down and it stimulates your thyroid to make 100% of the T4, the thyroid 4 hormone. It will cause the release of about 20% of your T3. I'm going to go to the end. Linda says no problem. Let me see. You guys, I am live on YouTube and let me see. Okay. I just went to the end. Let me see here. All right. When our thyroid is producing the hormones, T4, 100% of it, and T3, about 20%, the T4 will cause a conversion of the remainder of the T3 in our periphery, our kidneys, our liver, the peripheral area. It can also produce reverse T3. Now, the difference between T3 and reverse T3 is that T3 is active. It's going to rev up body function, like your metabolism. So active T3 is going to rev things up, whereas reverse T3 is like a metabolic brake. It's protective, and it's usually more active during a crisis. So if I were to check your reverse T3 during an infection or trauma or malnutrition, like say you fasted for 5 days in a row, it is a possibility that your reverse T3 is higher at that time, okay? It is a brake on metabolic activity. It's gonna say, hey, let's calm down here. So my thoughts are, let's look into this. Like is there something going on in your life, oh yeah, I just got over a cold. Well, that was a dumb time. I should have not drawn your thyroid at that time. Which brings me to the fact that when you check your thyroid, every time you check it, you want to check it at the exact thyroid. TSH fluctuates. You want to check it at the exact same time of day every time you check it. You also want to check it in the exact same fasting state. So if you ate 1 hour prior to your test one time and 8 hours prior the next time, they're not relevant. You can't put them on a graph and say, well, here's where my TSH has been. No, that's not accurate. It has to be at 10 a.m. with 6 hours fasting every single time, or whatever the parameters are. So it's very important that you do that, checking it at the same time in the same environment. So if reverse T3 acts like a metabolic brake and your T4 is converting to reverse T3 more so than it's converting to T3, your doctor could knee-jerk tendency give you T3. Now, why is this a problem? Well, it is a problem, and I want to give you a caveat here. People who are on a ketosis diet, a low-carb diet, or they're fasting, they might have lower active T3. You might knee-jerk think that, oh my gosh, let's get the reverse T3. Oh, reverse T3 is normal. Whew, okay. Maybe I don't need as much T3. Could be a correct assumption. But what if T3 what if reverse T3 is elevated? Now your knee jerk is to say, oh, I'm under stress. I have an infection. I am malnourished. So I have seen thyroids with a T4 that is converting a lot to reverse T3. And I would first look at that, even if they're a carnivore on a low carb diet. I would say, hey, do you think you're getting enough food? Are you eating enough protein? Are you eating enough fat? I might think malnourished because you told me you're not really stressed. You don't have an infection. You don't have a trauma. Something's going on. Could you be malnourished? Absolutely. But to knee jerk and give T3 could actually throw you out of ketosis. Let me give you an example. Let me rewind here a bit. Let's say you are on a ketotic diet. You're in ketosis. You're either carnivore or you're just in a low carb keto diet. And you check your labs and T3 looks like it's tanked. It's tanked, and you're looking at the paper, but you feel great. You don't have any symptoms of low thyroid. Okay, you're doing well, but your T3, let's just say it's pretty low. It's right around like 0.8, 0.9. It's less than 1. And your doctor says, or you say, I think I need some T3. What could be wrong with that? Well, number one, you need to know the mechanism of what T3 does to blood sugar. Okay? T3 will tell your body that you are burning sugar for energy. But you know you're burning fat because that's what you did with a ketosis diet. You wanted to start burning your fat as energy and not blood sugar. So your T3 is low because it senses there's no glucose, because it helps with glucose metabolism. So if there's no glucose metabolism going on, you don't need as much T3. Okay? But what if your knee-jerk reaction is to, uh-oh, I better take some T3? Guess what that's going to do? It's going to kick in hepatic glucose production. you're going to either go through gluconeogenesis, make more glucose, or you're going to go to break down your glycogen, glycogenolysis. Either way, you're going to raise blood sugar in order to raise T3, or because you gave T3, it's going to cause those things to happen. Does that make sense? T3 is around to help with glucose metabolism. So if you're carnivore, you don't need as much T3. But if you added T3 thinking you're going to fix yourself, you actually just kicked your body into making glucose. So now it throws you out of ketosis. I know it's complicated, but what we're doing is we're chasing numbers and we shouldn't be. I have had people who come in and they might be new to my clinic and they want their labs checked. So I check their labs and their TSH, it looks normal, their T3 looks normal, or their T4 looks normal, but their reverse T3 is high. Something's going on. I need to maybe get their antibodies, correct? I might need to get their reverse T3 because nobody's ever checked it. I might even need to check cofactors. I might need to check selenium. I might need to check zinc. I might even need to check an iodine level. That would be difficult, but it's just something to think because you need iodine in order for, you might need, or you do need iodine in order to, let me see. I'm getting rid of some of the YouTubers over here. I don't have a moderator today, but I am looking into one. Does Linda want to be, seems to be healthy in her mind. Tune stores, if a TSH is a bit higher and a T3 and T4 are normal, what is normal? I don't know what normal is. Is it normal because it's in the range? Because likely, if your TSH is high, it is trying to make T4 production. And that T4 production is wanting to, it has to convert to T3 or reverse T3. So the tune store, there's not enough information, but a TSH being high means that the hormones that are produced from our thyroid are feeding back and telling the brain that there's not enough thyroid hormones. Somehow there's not enough thyroid hormones. Is there inflammation going on? Is there malnutrition going on? You know, are you in a fasted state? I don't have enough information. And Tune Store, if you want to sign up for a consultation, just email me at IronLadyDoc@AOL.com, IronLadyDoc@AOL.com. And Carol, I do not practice anymore. I practice only online. So if you're looking for an online doctor, I can be your online information giver, but I am not your doctor. This is not medical information. It is for, or excuse me, this is not medical advice. It's for information purposes only. Yeah, Tune Store, there's going to be a lot that needs to be looked into in your case that we might not have time. Let's see. All right. Jaco says iodine needed to make TSH along with selenium. Correct. So something really, really easy is get a selenium level, get a zinc level too. I would definitely get your iron studies. There's a lot that can be said from getting your, yeah, Carol, just email me at IronLadyDoc@AOL.com. Okay. Let's see. I'm looking through Instagram, making sure I didn't miss anything. So as a repeat, the The things you should be checking when you're checking your thyroid is a TSH, a free T3, a free T4, a reverse T3, a TG, and a TPO. With those things, you can get a pretty good idea of what is going on with your thyroid. I also, when I get thyroid, I just don't want to check your thyroid. Like, hey, if somebody contacts me and say, hey, can you order those tests for me? I will. But I also want to say, hey, do you know what your CBC is? Do you know what your complete metabolic profile, your liver function, your kidney function? Do you know all of that stuff? Are you a diabetic? What is your A1C? What is your glucose? What is your insulin level? There's a lot that needs to be looked into, but if you just want your doctor to order thyroid stuff, get those, the TSH, the free T4, the free T3, the reverse T3, TG, and TPO. Jasper says, I have no thyroid gland. So you're absolutely positively sure every single piece of that thyroid was removed when you had it removed. Haven't had my levothyroxine, so you have not had your T4 for 3 months. Don't know how that's working. Well, you won't know how it's working until you check your levels. So Jasper, you might want to get your levels checked. Damage be reversed as a type 2 diabetic? Yes, it can. Carol says, I could possibly get off my thyroid medicines. That's a possibility, but I don't have enough information on what else is going on. I am going to put some users out of commission here. My doctor fought me on, this is Crazy Cat, fought me on having a full panel, including copper, zinc, etc. B was very low. I'm guessing B12. TSH has me on leave and only on levo. So not enough information. I'm sorry that your doctor won't order the labs, but it's your healthcare. Maybe you need to find another doctor. I got somebody watching all the way from South Africa. Thank you for joining. Good morning, Richard. Jasper says, I'm going to try to make an appointment this week. It's been circumstance that kept me from the doctor. Finally have insurance again. I feel groggy on and off, but otherwise okay. Yeah, Jasper, I'd love to help you with your labs. I don't know what state you are in, but yeah, I completely can order your labs for you. The labs I order can run anywhere from, if we keep it simple, it could be, $250 upwards to $350. So, if you've been saving up and you don't want to find a doctor and use your insurance, then I can help order your labs and then we can go over them at another time. So you can email me, IronLadyDoc, so IronLadyDoc at AOL.com. You can email me. I can order your labs for you. Even if you don't want to hire me for a consultation, that's fine. I want to be able to help you. If you want to go to your own doctor and you want a list, email me. I'd be happy to send you the list that I look at, okay? I don't have anything to hide from you guys. I'm doing this for free. And to give you a list might take me 3 minutes to write those all down and send you a list. It's nothing. So I would be glad to help. Rexy says, radiation killed my thyroid. The TSH was 143. Radiation from what? Hi, California. Carol says, it's hard to know what you don't know how to ask. I agree. So I'd be happy, Carol, to send you a list. And if that would help you, I would be pleased. And it would be my honor to help you. Charles says, my wife is having problems with her thyroid issues, so she has had some tests done and they keep telling her it's okay. I mean, I don't know, what's going on, Charles, and I'm sorry to hear that your wife is still frustrated. You got to keep learning and you keep listening and you find the doctor that's interested in finding out what's wrong. But just simply taking levothyroxine is synthetic T4. It is not your T4. Now, granted, if you don't have your own your thyroid, or you've had radiation, or if you've had, whatever, and you don't have production of T4, yes, taking T4, a synthetic version, might be your only option. Taking a desiccated thyroid might be more helpful. I don't know, which is like a pig thyroid, a nature thyroid or armor thyroid. One of those is a desiccated natural thyroid. That is a combination of T4, T3, T2, T1. It's kind of the whole 9 yards. If you're taking thyroid from an animal, okay, it's desiccated. And I have some patients who have done quite well on taking supplemental form of desiccated thyroid that they got from online. And maybe you just need to order some thyroid and eat it. I don't know. Maybe that would be a cleaner version. Mark says, are grounding sheets worth using for inflammation? That's a good question. I'm not quite sure. You know what bothers me about grounding sheets? They have to be plugged into the wall. And what is coming through your wall? Is your fiber optic 5G things coming through your wall, and then you're lying on the antenna? These are maybe there's some sort of a buffer, but I don't know. I'd rather just go outside and walk barefoot, on the ground. That's my thing. I don't know, but Mark, if you want to try the grounding sheets and see if it helps with your inflammation, let us all know. I don't know the answer. I've never used them. I don't know. I've never studied them. I don't know. I don't want to give you information or lack of information thinking that I know something when I don't, and I don't, especially on that. Brandon says, I gained 60 pounds during COVID. So you gained 60 pounds during the years 2020 and 2021, and you can't drop it the past 4 years. I was 220, 6 foot 220, played sports, 37 years old. Something happened to me. I can't lose weight. Not enough information. If you want to, let me see. If you want to schedule a consultation, I'd be happy to go over things with you, okay? Just email me at IronLadyDoc@AOL.com. There's something going on. I bet we can help. I can help you. Rexy says, the radiation from my cancer killed my thyroid. My TSH levels were 143. I didn't take any medication or anything. And I only took natural remedies to bring the TSH levels back down to 7. Good. 7 might be still too high, right? Wow, that is a help, doctor, in purpose. Bravo. Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, the list, K, is a list of labs. So if your doctor, or if you want your doctor to order some labs and you don't know what to order, just email me at IronLadyDoc@AOL.com, and I'll email you back a good list of labs that you should have, maybe just as a baseline. Okay. Melissa says, I love your knowledge. Thank you. I appreciate that. Liesel says, outside of a triglyceride to HDL ratio of 2.38, already, Liesel, that triglyceride to HDL ratio being above 1 puts you at risk for cardiovascular problems. So you are metabolically not healthy, okay? So that tells me that those LDLs and the ApoB being elevated are a lot of small dense LDLs, which are easily oxidized and easily problematic for cardiovascular disease. So Liesel, some things need to be looked into with those. There's other things that you need to look at, But that is enough information to tell me that you are at risk for heart disease. Just simply put. Let's see. I'm still trying to some of the people over there on YouTube. Jurek says, wow, how nice, a medical professional offering advice. Not offering advice, I'm just giving information. It's not medical advice at all. NJ says, I had someone tell me to take iron pills when I told them I got hives on my stomach when pregnant. I cannot agree with that. I don't know why that would have been the case, but I don't think anybody needs to be taking iron. Okay? We are likely in iron overload. And taking synthetic iron, just like taking synthetic anything, puts us at more and more risk. Melissa says, is ashwagandha really good for me? Really good for mental health. No, taking something for your mental health is after the fact. Why don't you find out what is causing your mental health to need ashwagandha? Because there could be other things going on. I really want to go their holistic route, man-made. I gained so much weight. There's a reason why you're gaining weight, Melissa. But simply taking ashwagandha for mental health, maybe your weight gain and your mental health are related and there's an underlying metabolic problem. I'm going to skip to the end on YouTube. Kim says, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, so she's got elevated antibodies. So TG and TPO were high, so greater than 1. And I felt miserable when I was taking the prescribed synthetic drug, meaning synthetic T4, so levothyroxine. I had some problems with losing hair and bald spots and no appetite. So something else is going on, right? Muke says, I take olanzapine, so guide me for mental health. You need to talk to your psychiatrist for that, Mukes. Thanks for asking. Let's see. All right. Oh, here's a question regarding blood sugars. I think it's very common today to have people get continuous glucose monitors on their, to just see what foods are doing to their blood sugars. I'm not opposed to that. What I want you guys to understand is it is spikes in blood sugar that is most important. Let me give you an example. I got 2 people and they both average 100 as their blood sugar. But one of the people that averages 100 spikes blood sugars to 150 and then come down to 50 over time. So their average is 100. Or got person number 2 who spikes to 110 and then it'll come down to 105 and their average is 100. Which one do you think is better off? Right, person number 2. So you could see that somebody who says, oh, my average blood sugar is 100, but are they the person who's got spikes and troughs and spikes and troughs? Those people are sick. They have a lot of metabolic problems going on. I would like to get an insulin level on them, an A1C. I would want to know their triglyceride level. I would probably get a calcium score on them. I would do a lot of things. but that is not normal. Even though their average is 100, meaning the labs, you know how you get your labs and there'll be a glucose level. It'll be what you were when you came in that day. 110 fasting for 8 hours. Whoa, 110. But your average glucose will be 100. And so you look and you go, oh, that's not very bad. But you are likely the person who's having spikes to 150, 160 and troughs down to 50 or 60. That is not good. You have metabolic dysfunction. And you likely have underlying diabetes. Yeah, but my A1C, my doctor says it's normal. What is normal? Is it what the reference range says? We need to know these things. Do not be deceived in reading your labs according to the reference range and thinking everything is fine. There was no bold or there was no flags raised. That's just simply not true. If you're going to do labs, interpret them correctly. Remember, every time you go to the doctor and you do a diagnostic test, a diagnosis is going to be made. And it might be underdiagnosed. You're fine, I'll see you in a year. Or it's completely overdiagnosed. And here's your medicine in reference to your LDL. Which gets me to think about something else. The lipid panel, you guys. When it says your HDL is this, your LDL is this, your triglycerides are this, are those real? I talked about that yesterday. The LDL on your lipid panel is calculated. It is not real. It is not a thing, your LDL. It is a calculated version from something called a Friedewald equation, okay? And you guys don't necessarily need to know the Friedewald equation, but if you're interested, it's the LDL equals total cholesterol minus the HDL minus the triglyceride in parentheses divided by 5. So you get the triglycerides divided by 5 and say it's 200 divided by 5. Let's just say, that's hard, but let's just say it's 40 or something like that. You would go LDL equals total cholesterol of 300 minus your HDL of 25 minus 40. And then that would be your LDL. Calculated LDL. If you are trying to measure an LDL, which is a low density lipoprotein, that is not real, or an HDL. You want to actually get a particle number, doing a nuclear magnetic resonance imaging test. You want to get a test that actually counts up the number of particles you have, LDL. You want to count low density lipoprotein particles. A particle carries the things like cholesterol and triglycerides. They carry them. You aren't measuring a thing on a lipid panel. It gives you an idea. It's not that it's bad. It gives me a kind of a broad picture of what is going on with you. Yes, I can look at your triglycerides and your HDL and I go, whoa, something's going on. Or yeah, whatever you're doing, things look great. Do you still maybe want to get an NMR or, an advanced lipid test? Sure, if you're into that. But honestly, if you're feeling great, you're exercising, you're sleeping, you're eating a low carb diet with no sugar, your stress level is okay, your job is going great, you're skipping down the street saying a happy song, do you really need to check more labs that give you a diagnosis when you feel okay? I don't know. I'm not going to answer for you. Maybe you're that person that is a spreadsheet analyst and you want to get all the labs and put them on your Excel spreadsheet and watch them over years. That's fine. But know that, your doctor could underdiagnose you or overdiagnose you with those labs. They could put you into, if they give you a diagnosis, they could put you into a higher insurance rating. People tell me that insurance companies don't do that. Really? Okay. I mean, if you want to put your head in the sand, go ahead. But that's why everybody's insurance rates goes up, because there's a diagnosis that's made. And now the insurance companies has to pay for the diagnosis. So they're just going to raise rates on everybody, not just you. I mean, why is insurance rates going up? Well, they just can't keep up. Everybody's so sick. Well, they are. That's because doctors don't treat them. Doctors are giving them medications, giving them a diagnosis, giving them medication, and then saying, I'll see you in 6 months. I'll see you in a year. Everything looks great. Stay on your medicine. Yeah, but doctor, I don't feel very good. It's your job. It's probably stress. You got to get some more sleep. I understand. I mean, that family of yours, I mean, that's traumatic. Whatever it is, nothing is ever going to be something the doctor can fix. Only the medicine will fix you. Not cure you, fix you. Get you by. Just get you by. Emily is asking about the pancreas and insulin. I don't know what the question is. Okay, I gotta get rid of you. This is almost fun, but if I could I wish my moderator was here. Mary says, most doctors are so dishonest these days. I thank you, doctor. Are they dishonest, or are they just have no knowledge? So they might be perfectly honest about not knowing anything, Mary. I mean, they might fake it, but just to assume that your doctor is dishonest, maybe they're not. Maybe they're the most honest person that you know. I don't know that. I mean, that would be painting with a broad brush, but maybe they are honest in certain things and dishonest in another thing. Maybe they're doing things from their perspective, their best interest. You look at it as dishonest, and they're saying, no, I'm really honest about how I want to check this and this and that and get you doing this and this and that for my own benefit. I mean, do you think that doctors are not sinners? Absolutely not. They are just like everybody else. They've just been highly educated sinners. Let's see. Mary says, so many doctors prescribe medicines that patients don't need. It's a lucrative business. For who? Mary, it's not lucrative for a doctor to write prescriptions. Just to let you know, we do not get paid to write prescriptions. We might get a soda by the pharmaceutical rep because we wrote their medication and they want to love bomb us. But no, we're not getting paid to write medications. Okay? So get that out of your head. There's other ways that doctors treat that is lucrative, but that is not one of them. What a World says, can you discuss melanoma? Recently diagnosed and scared. I don't know much about melanoma, but I will tell you that cancer is a protective mechanism because of some sort of toxins that are in your body, and I would get to the root of things. Yeah, Kyle, you know, I think the way you're talking about doctors, help me beat this, help me beat that, fight this, fight that. I think that's where Kyle needs to step up and say, hey, you know what? I need to be my own advocate. My doctor, I've come to connect the dots, and they're really not on the same level as I am anymore. And I really need to move beyond them. And that's fine. There's going to be some doctors that are just stuck in their residency days or stuck in the first 10 years of their career. Well, how do I know this? Because I was there. If I've been trained for 27 years or 25 years to do it a certain way, I don't really want to change. I've got my algorithm all set, my recipe. I look at a number, I treat it, and bang, 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 and all is good, and I don't have to think. But now that you're starting to look into things, you're seeing and trying to connect the dots, and you're seeing that, you know what, all my friends and family and coworkers are just going to their doctor and they're just, oh, I got a cold, you get a medicine, like an antibiotic. You got high cholesterol, here's your statin. You got high blood pressure, here's your ACE inhibitor. You got diabetes, here's your metformin. They're not thinking, because they're putting all of their trust into a person who is fallible and who doesn't educate themselves outside of what they've been taught. And they continue to be taught. You say, well, don't doctors have to go through continuing medical education? They do, but they're choosing the CME, continuing medical education, that is leading them down the same trough. They've never gotten out and gone down different avenues. And if they're stuck in the same avenue, yeah, they're getting continuing medical education on the same exact indoctrination that they've always lived to believe. They're in the echo chamber. They don't have to get out. They're given kudos and pats on the back and money. They're being paid by following guidelines. That's how measures. If a doctor tells you, I'm not paid by a quality measure, well, if you ask me that, no, I'm not paid by a quality measure. But bigger corporations are. The little guys, they opt out because it's too difficult. They just treat how they see that they want to treat them. Could they still be in an echo chamber? Yes, but they're not in one of these, insurance companies that are, I can't remember what they're called. It's not an HMO, but it's something like that. But the bigger companies make more when all of their doctors get on board. If they all follow the guidelines, they get, you could call it a kickback, I guess. But usually the doctors who are on their own don't involve themselves in those parameters. They don't get involved. They're like small fish in the pond. The insurance companies aren't going to come after them for not following guidelines. In other words, okay, maybe you're following the beat of your own drummer, the ones that are on their own. And their beat might not be good either, but I'm just saying they might not be involved in the corporateness of, how they're getting paid. NJ, what is an iron level? That iron level of 5.3, I'm guessing is not the United States standard. So if you can convert it, I might know what that iron level, I might have more information, but I don't know an iron level of 5.3, unless, of course, that is the USA standard, and that's really low. Foodie says, what can I do for high cholesterol without taking a statin? Why do you think your high cholesterol is bad? Remember, the cholesterol on the lipid panel is not real cholesterol. You can't just, because the blood is water soluble, you cannot be measuring fats. Cholesterol is in a lipoprotein. Lipoproteins, LDL, HDL, they carry cholesterol. You can't just take an isolated cholesterol and measure it. That's impossible. So I don't know what you're measuring and why you think yours is high. Okay? Extreme says, why do every medical student carry a PDR because we had to know what all the medications were. It was a reference. It was a physician desk reference. So it would help us say, why is my doctor I'm following or shadowing, why are they putting on this medicine or that medicine? Or they'll quiz you and say, okay, what is an ACE inhibitor? You got to go look it up. That's why they carry a PDR. That's what we've been told. That's our first class in medical school was pharmacodynamics. It was pharmacy. That was our first class. It was before even anatomy. Maybe they're in the, I think the second half of our first year, or partway through our first year, that's when we got anatomy. Wow. Yeah. Pharmacy class was the first one. Mary says they need to get to the core of the problem. That's why I study holistic treatments. But do you really need a holistic treatment? You think that these are holistic. I'm going to take vitamin D. That's holistic. My vitamin D level is low. Well, you're taking a synthetic that you consider holistic. It is not. Why is your vitamin D level low? Do you have a lot of body fat and all of your D is sequestered inside that fat? Is your liver dysfunction not, is your liver dysfunctional? Is your thyroid dysfunctional? Why is your vitamin D level low? I'm not saying, Mary, that your vitamin D level is low. I'm just saying that you're reaching for holistic things when some of those could be treatments, as in, I'm going to take this vitamin and that vitamin and that, and it's just wrecking you. Okay. If you take vitamin D, it could be lowering your copper level. And if you have low copper, then you're going to get retention of iron. You're going to get trapping of iron in your liver. Do you really want to take vitamin D? No. Especially a synthetic that is overriding all of our normal biologic processes. So really, no treatment at this point is in order. And let's find out what is the underlying diagnoses, and let's work backwards instead of let's just do a treatment. Yeah, it's holistic, so it's natural. It's good for me. Maybe it's not. I am in the United States. Okay, we're going to get rid of Kyle because Kyle's being rude. So, see ya. V-Born says, high cholesterol isn't a thing. Look at what historically cholesterol levels. I don't know what that question is, but high cholesterol has to be measured inside a particle, an LDL particle. Yeah, Flo, that would be awesome. Do you want to moderate so I can focus? Because basically I've been reading questions off of Instagram. So we are live on Instagram and YouTube right now. Aw10, here's a good question, is what about taking 15 milligrams of zinc? Well, I want you to think about something. You're taking zinc, I'm guessing, because it helps with your immune system. But what if you're taking zinc, like let's just say you've been told to take the triad of vitamin D, zinc, and vitamin C. So you're taught that, okay, if I want to help my immune system, I'm going to take high dose D, high dose C, and take some zinc, because that's what they told us to do during certain times when illnesses are prevalent. What does this triad do in your body? One of the things it does in our body is it lowers our ability to have copper, okay? Remember, vitamin D lowers vitamin A, and vitamin A is needed for copper. And if copper's low, then iron gets trapped in the liver. What is a food for things that grow in our body? Parasites, bacteria, viruses, fungus. What do they like to eat? Besides sugar, they like to eat iron. Okay? So by you taking zinc when you don't need it, I don't even know if you need zinc. Did you check your zinc level? Did you get an RBC zinc level? Or did you just get a serum level? If you're going to be checking all these things, you want to get the red blood cell concentration, the RBC magnesium, the RBC zinc, the RBC copper, the RBC. You want to get a true value. But you're going to take zinc, which competes with copper. Copper goes low. Low copper drives iron into the liver. You get iron trapping and iron overload state. Viruses and bacteria, they love it. They're chomping away. That's why you continue to get sick, even if you took a whole bunch of zinc. But you took a whole bunch of zinc, a whole bunch of C, a whole bunch of D, and you made matters even worse. Yeah, those are good questions. I appreciate that. Floette, I can try to put you as a moderator, see how you do. Okay, there you go. Extreme Recluse says, what do you think about Agent Orange and other toxins that the military personnel were exposed to? And do you think the government should be liable? I can't answer any of those questions, but you have to ask yourself, what is Agent Orange? Was it really used? Is it possible it's still in today's society? And you want to put a blame on somebody? I don't know. Select says, talk about pharmacology is an interesting topic. What do you want to know? I try to help as much as... Hi, Dwight. Okay, so Ed is going to take copper as well. But did you get an RBC copper level? Are you just going to start taking a whole bunch of vitamins and minerals when you really may not need them? 50 says, he or she gets all of their health advice from YouTube. Wow. Well, that's why we do this stuff for free, right? Well, that's why I do it. I like to give you information. It may or may be wrong. Who knows? Yes, Queen, I'm Crazy Cat Rancher from YouTube. Thank you for joining me over here. That's kind of a crazy place over there on YouTube. Can you confirm your email? Yes, you have it correct. IronLadyDoc@AOL.com. Thank you. And you're in Los Buenos? No, that's not. Banos, California? Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for joining. Thanks for subscribing. I appreciate that. Okay. Okay, Lucy says, I've never moderated. If you're on YouTube, Lucy, and I let you moderate, then you can actually delete comments. You can actually delete people. You hide them and delete them. It's kind of fun, actually. Jaco says, please confirm regarding blood sugar flags. Are the high spikes and low drops, or is it better to have... Okay, Jaco, you don't want spike and trough. You don't want a whole bunch of this. You want a whole bunch of this. If you have a person who averages 100 and they go from like up to 110 and down to 105 and they average 100, that's great. But if you have a person that spikes up to 150 and down to 50, spikes up to that person is got metabolic dysfunction. Okay, hopefully that helps. Okay. So Queen, you're gonna have to help me remember that you're actually Crazy Cat from Los Buenos. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, sorry. Lucy says, I already read that one about the moderation. So we would check RBC, iodine, selenium, copper, etc. I don't know how to check iodine, but yes, RBC selenium, RBC copper, RBC zinc, RBC magnesium. Iodine, I'm still kind of looking into. I believe you would need a 24-hour iodine level in order to get an accurate level. I'm not sure about the iodine. That is a conundrum that I'm still working out that, Lucy. And if you find out something, please let me know. Here's a question. If what I was taking zinc, C, and D, and iron, possibly trapped in liver? Do our bodies naturally remove this, or how do you remove trapped iron? How do you know you have trapped iron? Yes, glucoferrin is the only way I know at this time that could help you, Jaco. Okay? Am I in the know about glucoferrin? I am not. All we can do is get your iron studies, get these levels, and see where you fall, and then monitor it over time. You could try to do EDTA or some sort of other chelating agents that doctors like to give when they diagnose people with heavy metals. And this goes with, I believe it goes with Gerpri over there on YouTube, their question. Because if most all of us, it's not if someone was exposed to heavy metals, it is definitely you are exposed to heavy metals. There's not a person listening right now that doesn't have heavy metal exposure. Whether it's in the air, in the water you drink, in the foods you're eating, it's there. Most everybody has heavy metal problems, even if their labs, I mean, think about everybody who's got any type of joint replacement, they got a heavy metal problem. You've replaced a joint with metal, okay? So you have a toxicity of that metal. The thing with iron is why I think it's a big deal, and why copper is maybe an even bigger deal, because it worsens the iron problem, which is a big deal. Iron trapping stays trapped in tissues because there's no transport mechanism. You've defeated the ability for the iron to get out of a trapped state. Okay? It is trapped especially in the liver, and you can see it. You know, you'll see elevated liver enzymes. You'll see low glutathione. You'll see blood cells that look different. They're either big and large. Their hemoglobin is not very healthy. There's so many things that you can look at and monitor. If the glucoferrin is working for you, Jaco, you need to have labs checked. You decided you're going to go, you got diagnosed somehow, and then you decide you're going to go with glucoferrin, which is basically, if it is what it is, you're going to take glucoferrin, which is basically apolilactoferrin, if it is what it is. Apolilactoferrin is basically lactoferrin without the iron. So it is going to be a magnet for other heavy metals. It's a protective device. That's why we want babies to breastfeed. So you're taking breast milk in a capsule. You're taking that breast milk, apolilactoferrin, without the iron, and you're taking it because it also has chromium, which is a magnet for iron, and it also has, it's a trivalent chromium. Maybe that's the only thing I need to know, but that trivalent chromium also boosts the ability to draw a magnet, draw iron out of locked up stores. It's locked up because maybe your copper level's low. So you could have it all locked up, and then, you know, copper is low and it stays trapped. Hepcidin is high. Ferroportin's low. There's no transport mechanism. So something has to be given to lower hepcidin to build up ferroportin, to transfer the ferro iron, transport it from the liver cell out and back into the bloodstream. It is dysfunctional iron. You have dysfunctional iron. And you might have even been diagnosed with iron deficiency because your iron in your bloodstream is low because it's all trapped in your liver. I think flow. That is a good question. Which type of iron do the bacteria eat? I really think that they would eat any iron, but you see, heme iron is usable and absorbable, whereas non-heme iron is not. It's barely absorbed. It can get trapped easily. And I believe, this is me believing this is my opinion. I don't have this written in stone anywhere where I've gotten this, but I believe that the the ferroviruses or the ferrobacteria or the parasites or the fungus feed on synthetic non-heme iron because it's trapped. We're using heme, in hemoglobin, we're using it, we're absorbing it. I don't necessarily think that is the iron that is feeding our pathogens. I could be wrong, but that is just my thoughts on it. Liesel says, what is a good source of dietary copper? You want to get organ meats. You want to consume organ meats. For natural D and A, I would do sardines. But organ meats are going to be in your best interest. Sean says, my average fasting glucose is 112, but I don't know what your spikes are. Your A1C is 5.5. That really tells me nothing. Okay? Your average fasting glucose is 112, but you could be spiking up to 160 and down to 50. I don't know. And so that's where the conundrum lies. You know, if your fasting blood sugar is 112, it's taking a lot of insulin to keep your blood sugar down because your A1C is still normal. There's a lot going on, Sean, and I've suggested to you in the past that you might want to consider a consultation, so let me know. IronLadyDoc@AOL.com. What a World says, any advice about what we should be doing instead of the laundry list that makes everything seem bad? That is an open-ended question that I cannot answer. I have no idea what you're talking about. What natural foods would you recommend for iron deficiency? Ruminant meats, red ruminant meats. So bison, buffalo, sheep, lamb, cow, deer, those are the ones I would recommend. Exactly, what is Roundup? Right on, Rhonda. Yep. Hi, Ani. Or Anil, sorry. Carol, you just got to do interviews. You're looking for a new doctor, just do interviews. Just go interview them and see if they have some similar things that you can get on board with, that you can work together. Remember, you want a shared decision-making. You don't want a paternalistic where what they say goes. You want to do shared decision-making. I don't think you also want informative decision-making either, where the doctor just supplies you with a bunch of information. LDL causes heart disease, blah, 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 whatever it is. They just supply you with a bunch of information and then they say, what do you want to do? That is called informed decision-making, and sometimes that doesn't help you either. So paternalistic, do as I say. Informed decision-making might not be exactly what you need, but maybe shared decision-making where you go back and forth and you bounce ideas off of each other. Having a doctor like that, I think, is best. Spell that glucoferrin. Glucoffefferin. Hopefully I spelled that right. Glucoferrin. Ferrin. Right? Did I say that? So Glucoferrin, ferrin, like ferritin. So sugar, glucoferrin. Arsenic, poison, and heavy metals? Absolutely. Arsenic is one of the things. Yes, I think it's very dangerous. It's in our ground. It's from groundwater runoff. Let's see. Brian says, fasting is one of the best things you can do for your health. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we can't live in a bubble, right? Generation, we can't just stop breathing the air. Lorraine says they have iron overload. Eating fruits is not healthy. Atropine causes mitosis or midriosis. Okay. These are not questions, these are comments, I'm guessing. Okay, Sean says, so I got a question. The girl called Steak and Butter Girl is a carnivore. Her LDL-C is 380. So she actually measured her LDL particle cholesterol content. That's ridiculous. She's going to get early atherosclerosis with an LDL exposure of 380 over a decade, just cause. Well, Sean, ask her. Triglyceride is low and GO is high. She's laying down plaque. Carnivore people are delusional. Okay. Just ask her, Sean. I don't know why you're bringing this up. Okay, Kat. Have a good rest of your day. They got to go to their cows. Go tend to your cows. Ratios don't matter. Hill isn't even proven to be a cardioprotective. Okay. Sean, it sounds like you got a pretty good handle on everything. Go back to the gym, Sean. It sounds like you got everything going good. We're done. I'm going to move on to some other comments. Any opinion on BPC 157 peptides? I don't have any, I don't know enough to be able to answer that question. Okay. What do you think about using colloidal silver? I've had a lot of success not getting colds or viruses, including COVID, by spraying it in my nose and or drinking a small amount for a short time. Thanks. I don't know much about colloidal silver. I did hear of it during COVID, but again, I don't know enough to answer, whether or not, if it helped you, that's great. Congratulations. I think that's awesome. If you're using it sporadically, I've seen, and I don't even know if this is true, but I've seen that, where on podcasts or other things where people are taking so much colloidal silver that they turn blue. Now, whether that's a thing or not, or if it's fake or, I don't even know if I can believe what I believe anymore. Yeah. Generation X, it's likely that plus a whole bunch of other stuff is in our soil, and it's just accumulated over time. You got to remember that our topsoil used to be, say, 8 inches, and now it's like 1/8 of an inch. So all of the tilling and the monocropping that we have done over the years has destroyed our topsoil. So we are exposed to a lot of things, and you have to take that into consideration when you're eating things that you're consuming things that grow in the ground. So just take into consideration. Sardines. Yeah, sardines come in a can. And what is the can? Is it aluminum? Right. Tanner says, what do you think about IV iron therapy, intravenous iron therapy? Does it risk us for anything? It risks you for a lot. I would stop doing that. Why do you need iron therapy? Yeah, I agree. It's a messed up world. That's why we need God. That's why we need Jesus. Any questions over here on Instagram? How do I feel about overweight doctors? I think the most important question is, how do you feel about overweight doctors? That should be the question. Does it really matter what I think about overweight doctors? What do you think about overweight doctors? Extreme Recluse says, how important is remaining hydrated? I think you should drink when you're thirsty and don't drink when you're not thirsty. Brian says, cut down on your prescription drugs. My pop's cut his in half and he is better. Statins are horrible. I'm glad to hear about your dad being a lot better. Going. Hadi, it's glucoferrin, Glucoferrin. NJ says, I believe lack of vitamins and minerals in the body causes diseases and mental health problems as well. My opinion. But why are there a lack of vitamins and minerals? If you're saying that, and I can't disagree with you, but why is there a lack? Because are we malnourished? And why are we malnourished? And you'll say, oh no, we're not malnourished. Look at all the obese people. They're malnourished. The reason they're obese is because they keep eating things because they don't have the nutrition. So they will continue to reach for the things that they got addicted to that have no nutritional value. They're ultra processed or processed foods. They have no nutritional value. So they are considered, the obese people are considered malnourished. So what we do is we go give them vitamins, right? Which they already have a lot of synthetic vitamins because they've been eating processed foods. So you're just gonna go give them more vitamins and minerals, which causes more and more problems with iron overload or copper deficiency or vitamin A deficiency or vitamin D overload. All of these things where it's like we're not looking and getting the root cause to things. You're just going, well, I think everything is a lack of vitamins. Let's just give some more. And that's what causes the mental health. Well, mental health, what did you look at the diet? What if they got insulin overload? They got hyperinsulinemia and insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. They're not, there's so many things and you're just going to throw a bunch of vitamins at them. I don't think that's the answer. You might as well just go to the doctor and get the medicine for the brain, the mental health. It's the same thing. Tanner, I mean, that is a huge question. Should we avoid giving IV iron to patients with bacterial infections? Yeah, I mean, you give iron and that's food for any pathogen. But you got to ask yourself, why are you giving IV iron therapy in the first place? Okay, I don't know. Is that person, something else is going on? If you're giving IV, it's not just, I'm going to go in, but they absolutely have an iron problem. I would venture to, I'm going to go out on a limb and say they got so much iron trapping, so much insulin resistance, so much copper deficiency that they look like they have iron deficiency. And we're treating it all wrong by giving them these infusions and making the problem even worse. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it's just another thought to get you guys to open up your brain. How do I get my bones bouncy and not so strong? Resistance training and protein and consuming natural sources of vitamin D and A and calcium. How do I feel about fasting? I think there's a time and a place for fasting. Flo, I do not know how to test for fibrillin-1 irregularities. I'd have to look it up. Ken just got here. What type of diet do you recommend? Well, I recommend lifestyle changes. And if you have an ailment, a disease, a marker that's elevated, ask yourself what elevated that marker and maybe stop consuming that caused that marker. How about that? What do I think? Where did this go? Joe Carson. Joe, maybe I'll help you. Maybe you can help me. Okay. What are your thoughts, taking vitamin D supplementation for individuals with high melanation? Help me out here. I don't know what that is. Most people are chronically deficient when it comes to water intake. Are they? How do you know? Canned food equals heavy metals. It's a possibility. It leaches in. Same with using iron pans or aluminum pans. All of it leaches into our body. On carnivore and get a lot of leg cramps. I would check your RBC magnesium level. I would check, your sodium, potassium levels. I would check your iron levels. I would check your copper levels. There's a lot of things that could be going on with leg cramps. But check your levels before taking anything. Right. Yeah. Heidi says people assuming that malnourished means skinny, not understanding that it is improper nourishment. Exactly. I would agree with that. That's why there's so many people that are overweight that are very malnourished. And people laugh when I say that, but they're so malnourished that they're just reaching for food in order to, their body senses their malnourishment. So they keep saying they're hungry. The body is telling them it's a protective medicine, eat something, but the person who's eating chooses the wrong food. Michelle says, my mom just got out of the hospital, hemoglobin 3.8 and iron non-existent. Your mom should still be back in the hospital if her hemoglobin is 3.8. Something is going on. That is, I'm guessing blood loss. Somewhere, blood loss. Michelle says she's feeling better and now has an appointment to determine what happened. She had blood transfusion and iron transfusions. Well, that was about the only thing that she could have done, right? In order to save her. Flo, how do you test for type 1 diabetes? There's 5 antibodies that you should check. And I would check all 5 of them. Don't just get one. Oh, that's interesting, MT. I never heard that before, but thanks for sharing. Alpha says, eating meat is good for you. Overeating is bad. You can be unhealthy eating vegan only as well. You need to pay attention to your body more often. I think everybody does, and I think we do these fad things without really looking into it. And I think you would agree with me, Alpha, that we need to be more educated when we decide that we're going to eat a certain way or live a certain way. Carol, are sardines in a can good? Well, sardines themselves are good. How they're held in a can. I can't get on board with that, but how else are you going to eat a sardine? Hopefully you got a, I have a market near me that I can get sardines. Hopefully they're fresh, but you just don't know. You just don't know. I don't know the answer, Knighton. I mean, you gotta mix and match to get your 100 grams of protein. You might do legumes and chickpeas. You might do, soy, edamame. I don't know how you want to get your 100 grams of protein. but they need to be complete proteins. They need to have all the essential amino acids. Carol lost muscle mass on a carnivore. I'm guessing Carol did not eat enough on carnivore. And how do you know that you lost muscle mass? You had it measured? Like you got into one of those pods, or you had underwater testing? Just simply using a little machine and saying, I lost muscle mass on carnivore? No, you lost muscle mass because you didn't eat enough, and you didn't lift weights or do some sort of resistance training. And you might have thought that your muscles actually got smaller when you were losing fat weight and you were losing your Wagyu beef, and now you're a filet mignon. You might look like you lost muscle mass, but you actually lost fat that was intertwined in your muscle. It's called Wagyu beef. Your muscles with fat in them are like Wagyu beef. Tasty, but not good for you. Ooh, Tanner, that's a good question. I don't know. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? Carol, yeah, maybe in a jar, sardines are the best. Glass is obviously the best, right? Okay. I don't think we got any other. Looks like that's all for the questions, you guys. You guys are all questioned out. That's good. We went over a lot today. Flo, and the question on vitamin D, and just because you have dark skin, I think that a lot of the sunlight, if we're exposed and it gets through our eyeballs, then our vitamin D will be produced. Get an active, it's called active vitamin D, and get a stored vitamin D. You want your active vitamin D level to be in a 2-to-1 ratio to your stored vitamin D level. So if you want to truly answer the question about your dark or someone's dark skin pigmentation, I would get an active vitamin D and a stored vitamin D and see where your ratio is. If it's 2-to-1, you're perfect. You don't need anything. You know, it's funny that you asked that. They tested my mom with her grip strength in determining her muscle mass. So, you know, people will do all kinds of stuff. I mean, should we do a bench press test to see if you have enough muscle mass? You know, I think we need to think more in terms of, can we get in and out of our chair as we get older? Muscle is the organ of longevity. We want to exercise it. We want to grow it. Can you still grow muscle as you age? Absolutely. But you have to do things to failure. You can't just do finger weights and expect that your muscle mass is going to be retained. You have to feed it healthy protein and fat in order for it to be retained. So, you know, I don't, how full your muscle looks is determined by muscle fat, water, glycogen. So going on a carnivore might reduce fat in the muscle, but also reduces glycogen, making them appear smaller. So you're saying, I mean, MT, I can kind of get on board with you. The fat, I think, is the most important thing here that you're talking about that makes muscles look fatter. Water, okay, yep, I can get on board. Glycogen is going to draw 1 gram or 1 molecule of carbs, say, is going to draw 2 molecules of water with it, 2, 3, somewhere in there. So yeah, if you have sugar in your cells, it's going to draw in water. But are you doing this? Do you have a question in there? Because I don't know. What if what is below that, Flo? I didn't understand that. If it's below that, you need to get out in the sun. If it's below a 2-to-1 ratio, you need to get out in the sun. You need natural vitamin D. Eat sardines. Okay. All right. Again, I think if you people over on Instagram don't have any further questions, we will call it quits today, okay? And we'll go from there. We will meet back, Lord willing. I'll be back next Saturday at 9 a.m. Central. If you have questions during the week and you want me to bring them up during our live streams, just send me an email or message me and I'll try to get to those. I do reels during the week. I'm always reading. I'm always trying to look things up, especially if you guys bring stuff up. And I try to, a lot of times I will comment through a reel. Yep, you're welcome, Jaco. But I think the reels are good. I think you should share them if you find that they're helpful. Like, share this information. If you find that it's helpful, please share it. Maybe there's somebody who had a question and, you know, doesn't know how to get an answer from their doc, and maybe I said something that might trigger them. Then by all means, please share my stuff. We're learning this together. We're all on a journey learning this together, and we need to change or get out of being in a trough where we're being led in certain directions and we don't think for ourselves. Many of us are no longer thinking for ourselves because I believe that is a form of radicalization or a form of division. And you know, when we get into echo chambers or we get into tribes or we're silencing people for what they're saying, that's when we start getting into trouble, okay? The powers that be that do want division are going to divide the fringes, okay? So the people way on this side and the people way on this side, and they don't care about the people in the middle because these guys will cause all of the problems. Yeah, I understand that, MT. It's why professional bodybuilders carb up on the day of the competition, but they don't look as grainy. They don't look as striated. They're holding a lot of water. They don't know how to read themselves. They're guessing on how many carbs and water they should be drinking in order to carb up on the day to look full, because looking full up on stage looks flat. That can look flat. So you overdo it and you look flat. You know, underdo it and you look stringy. I mean, there's so much to go along with that. You know, professional or not professional bodybuilding. But yeah, I get where you're coming from. But it is hard. That's like trying to predict the market way in advance because something is happening, interest rates or whatever. And it's a guessing game. So good luck to you on the bodybuilding scene. All right, you guys, we'll call it quits. Thank you for joining on Instagram and YouTube today. If you would like to sign up for a consultation, email me at IronLadyDoc, IronLadyDoc at AOL.com. Okay? You can message me, email me, and we'll get you set up. Make sure you get your labs checked. If you don't have labs and you want me to order them, I can. Your insurance will not pay for them. However, if you have an HSA, you could turn in the receipt, because it is medically related, and you could turn in the receipt and try to get that paid for by your HSA. Okay? Thank you, Jaco. MT, I agree. So keep questioning. Keep your mind open to other things and help dump out some of your experiences from your jar, because those you've probably kept up those experiences since birth, and it might be time to start filling up with some different experiences. All right, you guys, have a beautiful and blessed Sunday. God bless.